My next guest is coming off a big win at UFC Vancouver, taking out Chito Vera via split decision on October 18th. Always great catching up with Aiemann Zahabi here on the program. Aiemann, how you doing, man?
Very good, man. I'm excited. I still feel great about the win. Getting a lot of hate for this one,
Yes,
but
yes.
I think I'm getting used to it now. The bigger the name I fight, the more hate I get when I win.
Yes, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But just going back, we had talked ahead of the fight, and it was a very good opponent here in Chito. Did the fight kind of play out how you thought it would? Just because we know how durable Chito Vera is when it comes to his fights.
I didn't expect to take as much damage as I did in terms of like getting my arm broken and stuff and getting dropped. I really thought I would avoid getting dropped in this fight. I thought my defense would carry me through, but I made one mistake. I threw a jab, not expecting to be hit back, and he kind of hit me with something I didn't see. It made me go down for a second. But I feel like I recovered really well, and I do a great job facing adversity. And I feel like I handled myself very well. I think most guys would have tried to rush and make it up right away, where instead I took my time and I regathered my mind and my body, and I was able to finish the round stronger than him and still outstrike him in that round.
Yeah, and certainly that the third round was close, but again, how much do you sort of credit the fight IQ as well? Like some guys, when maybe they're down in the second round, like I think arguably you would, might have crumbled, but you sort of pushed through, kind of knew what you had to do. How much did you sort of rely on experience in that spot?
Well, I knew like after round two, my brother told me it was 1-1. I feel like I really secured round one. Like round one, his back hit the fence a few times. Mine never hit the fence,
Yeah.
and I landed double the strikes. I was very confident that I secured round one.
Mhm.
And then round two, I was very confident that he secured it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, when you get dropped, it's hard to win the round again unless something really dramatic happens or you drop him back. So I it kind of conceded that I knew that I lost the second. And then I had everything it takes to win that fight, and I had everything it takes technically and strategically to be able to apply, my skills. And my brother motivated me, told me that certain things he couldn't figure out. And then right when I stood up off the stool, my teammate Xavier Aloui said, "C'est les 5 minutes les plus importantes. It's the most important 5 minutes." And I just nodded my head and I said yes. And I was just gonna go out there and do the 5 minutes fully and leave everything behind. And I felt like I was hungrier in round five, and that's what showed and that's what shined through. I took more risk, I threw more strikes, I landed a much better percentage. I backed him up more, I got his back to the fence a lot more, and I feel like they gave me the nod because of my aggression and output.
Any concerns when it did go to the scorecards? I know it was in Vancouver, and obviously, actually, what's
Yeah.
surprising is the crowd was a bit interesting. I know they were mainly on your side, but I did hear some Cheeto chants as well. He had some fans out
Yeah,
there.
I don't think they were mainly on my side.
Yeah.
I mean, like when we walked out, he got a much bigger pop than I got,
Yeah.
and you know, it doesn't intimidate me because no one can intercede for him.
Yeah.
In the end, he fights me alone, and I fight him alone. So it's not about who has more fans, right? The fight itself is not a popularity contest, and I feel like it's whoever fights the best that night. It's JSP's best quote. It's not the better fighter who wins, but whoever fights the best that night, and I feel like I was the hungrier dog, and in
Mm,
round three, I did more damage than him.
mm.
And I feel like I got the nod because I won the first and the last. So, I didn't care so much. I don't really put all my worth in winning and losing the fight, but in the choices I make throughout the fight. I came to peace during this training camp that when I'm in the fight, I can't calculate, I can't include every variable into my decision making.
Mhm.
But every time there is a choice to make, I just make the choice and move on to the next choice and move on to the next choice until the bell rings. And I feel like I didn't have any regret or resentment in any of my choices, and I just kept making decisions in that fight. And I feel like that's why I got the nod in the end because I was able to decide more often and take the chances more often than him. And I feel like I was able to get off a lot more.
Yeah. Were you surprised to hear people calling robbery? I thought it was close. I don't think there was any way. To me, robbery is you lose every round. I don't think there's a way you
Yeah.
could score every round for him. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little taken aback about the word robbery in this one because, like, I understand that he won the second and that I won the third. And then
Mm.
if you guys think round one was close, then it's not really a robbery because
Yeah.
if it round one could have been his or mine, then it's kind of like it is what it is. In the end of the day, I don't feel like that's a robbery. But if like everyone agrees round one is his, then it's a robbery. But like, I landed 20 strikes, he only landed 11.
Yeah.
And just because my nose bled a little bit doesn't mean he has extreme amount of damage. I landed so many low kicks and they were hard. You can hear them all across the arena. And leg kicks don't make you bleed. So it's kind of like a weird thing, right? So I feel like the judges got it right, and I feel like it's not a robbery whatsoever. And I understand that he's upset
Mhm.
because I told the guys in the commentary meeting on Thursday, I don't consider Marlon a loser. I consider him to be a winner,
Mhm.
and I didn't expect him to be okay with losing three in a row. And I knew that the layoff and all that, he was going to use that time to improve himself and change his approach and adjust and adapt because him, his coach, and his team, they're not losers.
Yeah.
They're winners.
Well
And
said.
so I expected the best Cheeto possible. And when I said that, DC was like, "What? You're expecting a Cheeto that never existed?" I said, "Yes, because he's not a loser. He's a winner, and he's gonna want to do what it takes to win." So I prepared for the best Cheeto possible, and I feel like I fought the best Cheeto in years.
Yeah.
I feel like he did a lot more in that fight than he would have done in other fights. So I'm happy that I prepared for the worst case scenario, and I was proven right.
Tell me about the stare down you guys had. I forget which round that was, but you guys really like kind of
Yeah.
did the old animalistic kind of stare down and stuff. That was something organic, obviously. Like that was pretty
Yeah, it was
awesome to see.
organic. Yeah, no, listen, it was definitely organic, and like me, I'm very for me, it's all business.
Yeah.
I'm a big sportsman. I don't have any hate or I don't like to disrespect anybody I'm fighting because to me, like at the end of the day, man, you're gonna go home to your wife and kids, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have a family and they love you, and I have the same thing, and we're human beings at the end of the day. So usually, I dab my opponents after each round, like, okay, man, I still wish them all the best,
Mhm.
even though we're fighting against each other. And so, like, when the bell rang and we were close to each other, I thought that's what was going to happen. But then he nudged me with his head, like he headbutted me, and I was like taken aback. I was like, so then I stared him down because I'm not going to be intimidated by anybody.
Yeah.
Like I signed the contract 2.5 months ago. I got ready for you. Like I'm literally fighting you right now. You think you're going to intimidate me? I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not afraid of anybody else. So I didn't like that. Kind of felt it a bit disrespectful and out of character. Maybe he was just trying to get me emotional so I can make a mistake. But in that situation, like if somebody headbutts you, if I would have slapped him or hit him after the bell, who's gonna get in trouble? It's kind of like those soccer penalties. Nobody sees the first dirty thing; they always see the second.
Yeah.
So like I just stayed emotionally in control, and I thought it was funny because I came out harder than him in round two. And excuse me, in round three.
Yeah.
In round three, I came out with urgency, and I'm not the one who headbutted the other guy.
Yeah. Well said. So you mentioned the arm. Any update on how long you're going to be out for with the broken arm?
Yeah, no, I'm still waiting for my checkup. So like
Mhm.
now the surgery was done on Monday, so we're not gonna know how long it's gonna take until I get my checkup and they take off the bandage and see what's going on. And I gotta start my PT. But I'm hoping it's not too long, and I don't want these guys to forget about me. Don't worry, I'm
Right.
still gonna be getting ready mentally and as much as I can physically, and I'll be ready for something big in 2026.
Good stuff. Yeah. So you called out O'Malley, and that would be an awesome
Yeah.
fight. If that doesn't happen, is there any preference in opponent? Like if you kind of pick and choose?
I haven't really thought about anybody else. I feel like the O'Malley one is it's the most likely scenario, and I know people now they're like really making fun of my call out, but
Mhm.
I find that interesting because when O'Malley was the champ, he fought Marlon Vera, and Marlon Vera was number 6.
Mhm.
Now O'Malley's number 1, and I'm number 7. It's the same difference. It's
Yeah.
the same spot jump. Like it's not like I'm calling from that far out.
Mhm.
And plus, he lost to Merab twice. Like, I don't see him fighting Merab next. Like, he's
Yeah.
not gonna get a third chance at Merab without fighting anybody else. And like, if he looks at the other guys he can fight, I feel like in his perspective, I've got to be, supposedly to him, gonna be the easiest fight. Doesn't he need help? And plus, I've got a 7-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that boost his story? Like I feel like it's a win-win over here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of Merab, he's got that title fight against Petr Yan coming up. How do you see that fight unfolding? That's coming up in December.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting when Peter Yan mentioned that if you look back at the fight, he didn't use his right hand, and I
Mhm.
hadn't noticed until he mentioned it.
Mhm.
So we might see a completely different fight. We
Yeah.
may, who knows? But I really love that matchup. I think it's going to be an action-packed fight. Uh, you know, I think it's going to be hard for Merab to cycle through the takedowns the way he did with Corey Sandhagen against Peter Yan, and I'm only saying that based on the fact that Peter Yan is a little bit shorter. and it's going to be harder for him to get in those hips at the same frequency as he did with someone who's much taller.
Mhm.
So it's going to be easy. It's easier to get in on taller guys, and I think with Petr Yan it might be a little bit harder. And if he was right and his hand was compromised the first time, he might have a surprise for Merab. But I really think Merab is he's been on fire, and he's going to be hard to beat for anybody. And I can't wait to watch that fight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know if you heard this before we hopped on. They just announced this on this was in the news. Patchy Mix, who's in your division, actually failed a drug test for a fight in May of 2024. We only found out about it today. It was his win over Magomedov in PFL. So I guess the way the French commission does things, it's differently than the UFC and other commissions where if you're test positive for a positive drug test, it becomes a loss instead of a no contest. So his win against Magomedov is actually a loss now. Your thoughts on that? I don't know if you heard about that.
Well, my thoughts are, what did he pop for?
They haven't said. That's the weird thing. Yeah, I know.
I'm interested. I just saw it on Twitter now, like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they don't mention what the substance is, because
Me
it
neither,
makes a difference.
Yeah.
And are they going to go back and say, oh, it was part of his supplements?
Yeah.
Or was it something he cannot get from a supplement? It makes a big deal. I like Patchy Mix. When I went to Vegas, he treated me so well. He's like a really good guy, and I've invited him even after his last loss. I invited him to come train at TriStar if he ever wants to, just take a break from his own environment and go trade somewhere else. Like just to change it up. Not switch teams or anything, but just like you want to just take a break and get away from stuff from back home and then go back to your routine after. It's a little palate cleanse or something. So I like him a lot. I don't want to say he took something without knowing the facts, but I would love to know the facts.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate the time, Aiemann, as always. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank all my teammates. They know who they are, my coaching staff and everybody. I really appreciate every single one of you for helping me win the fight.